What if consciousness is not something that exists inside reality? What if consciousness is the very thing through which reality becomes experience? Right now, you are looking at a world that appears to exist completely outside of you. Objects, people, sounds, distance, time, a body you call yours. And somewhere behind your eyes, there seems to be a separate observer watching all of it. You. This separation feels so obvious that we rarely question it. There is you, and then there is everything else. But consciousness becomes strange the moment you look closely at it. Because everything you have ever known about reality has appeared inside awareness. You have never experienced the world without consciousness. You have experienced colors, sounds, thoughts, memories, sensations, fear, love, the feeling of being alive. But every single one of those experiences has appeared within awareness. So here is the question. What exactly is consciousness? And why does it exist at all? We often imagine the brain as a machine producing consciousness. Neurons fire, electrical signals move, chemical processes unfold, and somehow, from this biological activity, subjective experience appears. The color red becomes something you can actually see. Music becomes something you can feel. A memory becomes something capable of making you cry. But this creates one of the deepest mysteries we know. Why should physical processes produce an inner experience? A camera can detect light. A microphone can detect sound. A computer can process information. But does any of it experience what it processes? Does it know that it exists? You do. At least it seems that way. And this difference changes everything. Because consciousness is not simply information. It is the experience of information. There is something it feels like to be you. And no matter how deeply you examine the brain, the feeling itself remains difficult to locate. You can observe activity in the visual cortex. But where is the experience of blue? You can observe neural responses associated with pain. But where exactly is suffering? You can watch patterns of brain activity while someone remembers a childhood moment. But where inside those electrical patterns is the feeling of nostalgia? This is sometimes called the hard problem of consciousness. We can study what the brain does, but explaining why any of it feels like something from the inside is much harder. And this opens a radical possibility. Perhaps consciousness is not a small side effect inside the universe. Perhaps our understanding of reality is incomplete because we keep trying to explain consciousness using a model that already assumes consciousness is secondary. Think about your senses. They feel like open windows onto reality, but they are not. Your eyes detect only a small range of electromagnetic radiation. Your ears detect only a limited range of frequencies. Your brain continuously filters, interprets, and reconstructs the signals it receives. You do not experience everything around you. You experience a model, a useful model, a survival-oriented model, a human model. There could be enormous amounts of information around you right now that your biology simply does not detect. A bee experiences colors you cannot see. A dog encounters a world dominated by smells you barely notice. Other animals detect magnetic fields, vibrations or frequencies completely outside ordinary human perception. Each creature lives inside a different sensory world. So which one sees reality as it truly is? Perhaps none of us do. Perhaps every organism receives only the slice of reality necessary for its way of existing. And if that is true, then the world you see around you may not be reality itself. It may be reality translated into a form your nervous system can understand. Now turn your attention inward. Who is the person experiencing all of this? You have a name, but your name was given to you. You have beliefs. Many were inherited. You have preferences, memories, habits, opinions, a personality. But these developed over time. So imagine removing them one by one. Remove your occupation, your nationality, your achievements, your failures, your social identity, your childhood history, your relationships, even your name. What remains? Most people instinctively answer, me. But what is that me? Before a thought appears, something is aware of the thought. Before you describe an emotion, something experiences the emotion. Even when the contents of your mind change, there appears to be awareness of that change. Your thoughts from 10 years ago were different. Your body was different. Your beliefs may have been different. Yet throughout all of those transformations, there has been a continuous sense that experience is happening. This does not prove that consciousness exists independently of the brain, but it reveals something psychologically important. You are not identical to every thought that passes through your mind. You can notice a thought. You can watch an emotion. You can observe your own behavior. And the moment you observe something, a small distinction appears between awareness and what awareness contains. This is where the ego enters. The ego is not simply arrogance. In a deeper psychological sense, it is the mental structure through which you organize the idea of yourself. I am this kind of person. I believe these things. I belong here. I do not belong there. This happened to me. This is what I want. This is what I fear. The ego creates boundaries. It helps you function. Without some sense of identity, ordinary life would be nearly impossible. But the boundary can become so convincing that we forget it is partly constructed. We start believing that the story of ourselves is the whole of ourselves, and then the universe becomes divided into two categories: me and not me, my body, the outside world, my success, other people's success, my pain, their pain, my life, everything else. But physically, that separation is not as absolute as it feels. The atoms inside your body did not begin with you. The carbon in your cells was formed through cosmic processes long before your birth. The oxygen you breathe moves continuously between organisms and atmosphere. The water inside you has circulated through this planet for ages. Your body is not isolated from nature. It is nature temporarily organized into the form you call yourself. The boundary exists, but it is porous. You eat the world. You breathe the world. You absorb sunlight indirectly through food. You exchange matter with the environment every moment. So in a literal physical sense, the question becomes strange. Where exactly do you end? Your skin, your breath, the bacteria living inside your body, the food becoming part of your cells, the air entering your lungs? We draw a line because it is useful, but usefulness is not the same thing as ultimate truth. Imagine a wave rising from the ocean. For a few moments, the wave has a recognizable shape. You can point to it, name it, measure it, watch it move. But the wave was never separate from the ocean. It was the ocean behaving temporarily as a wave. What if human identity is something like that? Not identical in a scientific sense, but as a philosophical metaphor. You are a temporary pattern inside a much larger process. For a short time, matter organizes itself into your body. Experience organizes itself into your story. You develop a name, a history, preferences, relationships, dreams, and eventually the pattern changes again. Seen this way, the question, "Why am I here?" begins to transform, because the word I becomes less obvious. Perhaps you are not a separate object dropped into the universe. Perhaps you are one of the ways the universe has become capable of observing itself. Through you, matter looks at stars. Through you, the universe asks where it came from. Through you, existence becomes aware that existence is happening. Again, this is philosophy, not a proven scientific conclusion, but it is a powerful way of reframing experience. Because much of human suffering comes from the sense of radical separation, the belief that we are isolated, defending ourselves against everything else, trying to protect an identity that is constantly changing, trying to make permanent what is inherently temporary. Your appearance changes, relationships change, beliefs change, status changes, the body changes. Everything the ego uses to define itself eventually moves. And when identity is attached completely to these temporary things, change feels like destruction. But awareness offers another perspective. Imagine sitting quietly and noticing your thoughts without trying to control them. A thought appears, then disappears. Another appears. An emotion rises, changes, passes. A memory enters awareness. Then it too is gone. The contents are constantly moving, yet awareness remains present enough to notice the movement. This is why certain contemplative traditions have spent thousands of years investigating consciousness directly, not merely asking what you think, but asking, what is aware of the thinking? You do not need to adopt any spiritual belief to explore this. You can test it right now. Notice one thought, any thought. Perhaps you are wondering where this video is going. Now notice that you notice the thought. There is the thought, and awareness of the thought. Now listen to a sound around you. For one moment, do not name it. Just hear. Before the mind says car, voice, wind, music, or silence, there is raw experience. The label arrives afterward, and that reveals something subtle. Reality reaches you before your story about reality does. The mind is constantly labeling, judging, comparing, predicting, dividing, useful processes, but they are not the same thing as direct experience. This may be why moments of profound presence can feel so unusual. For a brief period, the narration becomes quieter. You stop thinking about yourself as much. Maybe it happens while watching a sunset, listening to music, standing beside the ocean, holding someone you love. You temporarily forget your social identity, your problems, your future, your history, and there is simply experience. People often describe these moments as feeling connected to something larger. Maybe nothing supernatural is required. Perhaps the ego has simply stopped dominating attention for a moment. And without constant self-reference, the boundary between observer and experience becomes softer. This is also why love can be so psychologically powerful. Deep connection requires us to temporarily loosen the walls of self. You listen, you care, you become willing to experience another person's reality. The rigid boundary of me becomes slightly more open. And strangely, becoming less obsessed with the self can make life feel more alive. But there is an important distinction. Losing yourself is not the goal. The ego is useful. Identity is useful. Boundaries are useful. The question is whether you use your identity or whether your identity uses you. Do you know that your beliefs are beliefs? Do you know that your story is a story? Do you recognize that the person you call yourself is still evolving? Because once identity becomes flexible, possibility expands. You no longer have to say, this is just who I am. You can say, this is who I have learned to be. And learned patterns can change. This is where consciousness becomes practical, not as an abstract cosmic theory, but as awareness. The ability to notice what your mind is doing while it is doing it. You notice defensiveness before reacting, fear before obeying it, a belief before treating it as reality, an old story before repeating it. Awareness creates a pause. And inside that pause, choice becomes possible. Perhaps this is one of the most important functions of consciousness, not merely experiencing reality, but becoming aware of the filters through which you experience it. Because when you see the filter, you stop confusing the filter with the world. The person who thinks everyone is judging them experiences a judgmental world. The person who expects rejection notices rejection everywhere. The person who believes change is dangerous sees uncertainty as threat. In each case, consciousness is not necessarily creating physical reality, but it is shaping experienced reality. It determines what receives attention, what receives meaning, what becomes emotionally significant, and what action follows. This means expanding consciousness does not have to mean reaching some mystical level. It can begin with something much simpler: seeing more, seeing your assumptions, seeing your reactions, seeing how quickly your mind divides experience into good and bad, self and other, success and failure, seeing that some of the boundaries you defend were inherited rather than chosen, and perhaps seeing that you belong to something far larger than the story inside your head. Look at your hand. The atoms forming it existed before your name did, before your childhood, before your fears, before your ambitions. Your body belongs to an ancient physical process that began long before anything resembling a human being existed. And for this brief interval in cosmic history, those atoms have become capable of looking at themselves and asking, "What am I?" Perhaps we will eventually discover exactly how consciousness arises. Perhaps consciousness will turn out to be entirely generated by biological brains. Perhaps future science will reveal something far stranger. We do not know. And that uncertainty is precisely what makes the question so profound. Because consciousness is the one mystery you cannot escape. You can doubt the outside world. You can question your memories. You can question your beliefs. You can even question whether other minds experience reality in the same way you do. But the existence of experience itself is difficult to deny. Something is happening. Something is being experienced. And for a little while, that experience has taken the form of you. Maybe the deepest question is not, what is the universe? Maybe it is, why is there something it feels like to be part of the universe at all? And perhaps the answer begins not by looking farther into space, but by turning attention toward the mysterious awareness through which space, time, identity, and reality appear. You may spend your entire life searching for something extraordinary somewhere outside yourself. But there is already something extraordinary happening before every thought, every perception, and every question you have ever asked. You are aware. And the deeper you look at that simple fact, the stranger reality becomes.